Welcome to the Digital 3.0 podcast, where we break down complex tech stuff into simple, understandable terms. I'm your host, Austin Richard, and today we're diving into a topic that's essential to understanding where our digital world is going. And we're talking about blockchains. You know, those things people mention, but no one really stops to explain what they are and why we need them. Well, we're going to take a closer look at the uses of blockchains and the difference between centralized and decentralized blockchains. Now, if you're already going, whoa, slow down. No worries, I've got you covered. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand what blockchains are and the several real-world uses for them. You may even feel a little tech savvy. Can't promise anything, but you might. So really, I want you guys to know you're taking a big step here because having a basic understanding of blockchains will empower you to make better, more informed decisions, whether you're considering blockchains solutions for your business or you're investing in cryptocurrencies, or if you're just curious about how new technologies are shaking up the world. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, I'm not really a tech person, so why should I care about blockchains? Well, that's a fair question, but the answer is simple. Blockchains are affecting almost everything in our lives, and no one is really noticing. You know, one way to think of blockchains is kind of like the updates to your phone's operating system that they shoot you every couple months. You really don't know what they do or why you're, doing the upgrade, but you do it anyway because, let's face it, your phone works better and runs smoother, right? Well, blockchains are kind of like that, except on a much larger scale. They're global technology upgrades that are transforming all of our economic systems, everything from how we invest to how we conduct business. And blockchains are kind of like the backstage crew making sure the show goes off without any problems, okay? But, so now you're saying, what exactly is a blockchain, okay? Let's break this down. Imagine a chain, like the one that connects the ship's anchor to the boat. But instead of the metal links, this chain is made of blocks of information. Each block is like a digital container, and inside these containers, we can securely store information like financial transactions, legal documents, and even contracts. So this technology ensures that once information is recorded onto a blockchain, it can't be altered without changing every subsequent block, making it highly secure. So now, okay, what are blockchains for? Well, along with security improvements, they are creating new ways to invest, speeding up transactions, and making everything more secure and transparent. And another way to really think about or look at what blockchains are is to think of them as a digital ledger, like a super organized, unchangeable public accounting ledger that everyone has access to, but no one can change or tamper with. Instead of trusting an authority to make inputs and run the whole show, the responsibility of the ledger or network is maintained by computers locally, or in some cases, the computers can be spread out across the globe, making it nearly impossible to alter. Once information has been locked into the digital ledger or the blockchain, it's basically set in stone because you need a majority of the network of computers to agree on any changes that are made to it. This is what's called a consensus, okay? So I hope you're starting to get into this and understand it a little bit. But some blockchains are run by a single centralized organization or a localized network, and those are called centralized blockchains. Others are managed by a network of independent computers, potentially, again, all around the world, and those are called decentralized blockchains. Okay, don't worry about this right now because I'm going to break both of them down for you in detail. Because I can hear you saying, so now you're telling me there's different types of blockchains? Yes. And you might be asking yourself, so why are there different types of blockchains? And what's better, a centralized or a decentralized blockchain? Well, they're both important and they have different uses, and let me explain. Centralized blockchains are managed by a single entity or organization. For example, when a company controls the entire blockchain, it's a centralized blockchain, much like how traditional banks control your financial transactions. So They have one central authority that has the power to alter and validate transactions and manage the network without any outside participation. Because there is a single controlling entity, the transactions can be faster and more efficient. So private companies or institutions use centralized blockchains for internal processes like supply chain management and storage. On the other hand, decentralized blockchains don't have a central authority. Instead, the responsibility of hosting and securing the blockchain is distributed across a network of computers. And these computers technically would be called nodes. And they work in concert to secure the network, as it's referred to, as a decentralized blockchain. Making changes to the decentralized blockchain would be like trying to edit a page out of a book that's already been printed and sold. You'd need to recall every copy and rewrite every word because it would change the whole book. So no central entity has complete control. Decisions are recorded nearly simultaneously everywhere, and the transactions are validated through a consensus format, meaning everybody, all the nodes agree that this is okay to make this change, or that they're making the change. So when it comes to transparency and trust, decentralization enhances transparency because all the participants can view and verify transactions, but they can't be manipulated. It's almost eliminates the risk of corruption. I say almost because who knows. So some examples of decentralized blockchains that are very popular would be Bitcoin and Ethereum cryptocurrencies. And they're decentralized blockchains where anyone can participate, and not people, but computers are rewarded for securing the network. They get fractions of a Bitcoin or Ethereum. They're not, but these are not just cryptocurrencies. In fact, what they are is their strength is really in their security of their decentralized networks or blockchains. So decentralized blockchains are already changing the game in ways we can feel directly. Whether you're buying digital art that you're downloading or diving into the world of cryptocurrencies, the power lies with the people, and I'm being literal about that. It's I guess a democracy, if you will. So speaking of which, let's get more into decentralized blockchain called Bitcoin. It is a prime example of how this technology puts control back into the hands of the individuals. And here's the cool part. Anyone with a smartphone can get in on the action. There's no banks. There's no middlemen. All you need is an on-ramp and a network of computers making sure that every transaction is legitimate. And this is called digital democracy at its finest. That's right. The famous or the infamous cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, runs on a decentralized blockchain. People all around the world use their computers to verify and validate transactions and lock them into place on the blockchain. Of course, they don't do it for free. Kind of as I mentioned, they're rewarded for securing and validating blockchain transactions with fractions of a Bitcoin once the block is concluded, which I'm not going to get into that. So that means that there's no central authority controlling Bitcoin, just a whole bunch of computers agreeing on what's what and who's who. Bitcoin has no physical address, and it has no employees. The beauty of Bitcoin is anyone can participate, own it, sell it, any time of day, 365 days a year. And I have, we've got an entire podcast on digital currencies. So if you want to look more into that, it may be available now. But it's not just about digital currencies or digital art. Let's talk about another use of blockchain, and this one is not necessarily decentralized. More than likely, it's a centralized blockchain. I think you'll figure that out as I go forward here. It's not quite as glittery as cryptocurrencies, but it's really critically important to a functioning society and the role and its role in supply chain management. Mega companies like Walmart or IBM or even Starbucks have been using their own centralized blockchains for years, if not decades. So imagine being able to track your coffee beans from the farm all the way to your cup of coffee from your cell phone. If you had access to their blockchain, you could see where it is in the process and see where it went and everything like that. It doesn't really make inventory easier to track, but it also reduces the risk of fraud. And this isn't really fun blockchain stuff, but it is a crucial role of blockchains. I'm not going to bore you with the nitty-gritty of it, but I just wanted you to know that mega corporations and big tech companies have been using blockchains for years to improve their supply chain management and their security. So enough about that boring stuff. Let's get into something I'm a lot more interested in. It's one of my favorite uses of blockchains, and it's smart contracts. And they're a little more difficult to get your head around, but once you do, you're going to have one of those aha moments. You'll see the writing on the wall. So smart contracts are like traditional contracts, but with a technology twist. They're digitally produced, digitally accepted, they're written in code, and when all conditions are met, bam, the contract executes automatically. So there's no need for extensive lawyer involvement or stacks of paperwork. They're secure and transparent because the terms and conditions have been digitally agreed upon, entered on the blockchain, and cannot be edited by one party or the other. Let's take an example. Imagine renting a vacation home and there's no more Airbnb. I know that's hard to imagine, but there's no property manager and just the willing participants and a smart contract handling the entire process from distributing funds to giving you the keys. So you get to your vacation property and it all looks good, it checks out, you do your thing digitally and accept the contract. Boom, the contract's executed. Efficient, secure, cost effective. It's like having a super efficient digital assistant with 10 hands who never drops the ball, and it's pretty sweet. Now, if you're still confused, I want you to leave me a comment or check out our other episode we dive into smart contracts. All right, folks. So we've gotten this far, but buckle up. We're about to dive into the wonderful world of real estate and blockchains, where the grass is green, the houses are cozy, and the paperwork is, well, easier. Okay? Blockchains turn real estate transactions into a digital breeze. Now, it took some time, but you found your dream home. It's got the perfect porch for sipping morning coffee. It's got a great backyard for weekend barbecues and maybe even a little space for a garden. But before you can move in, you're hit with a mountain of paperwork that makes Mount Everest look like a molehill. You got appraisals, insurance quotes, contracts, deeds, disclosures, title work. Seriously, do we need this much paperwork to buy and sell a house? Well, yeah, you do right now. But here's where blockchain swoops in like a superhero. By streamlining parts of the process, reducing paperwork, and making certain aspects faster, more secure, and transparent, a blockchain-based system can help verify identities, track ownership, and manage contracts digitally through smart contracts, reducing the need for manual processing. I'm not going to go into too much of this right now because it's a little complicated, and we have an entire podcast dedicated to real estate and blockchain. So look for that soon, or it may be out at the time you hear this podcast. So I hope you're starting to understand the significance of blockchains. There's so much more to them, but this one here that I'm going to talk about is really near and dear to me. So once I got it, I really got it. Okay, so you know how buying an investment property usually means shelling out, a lot of cash and tying that up, or getting a loan for a portion of it. And once you buy it, it's not really a very liquid asset. Maybe you're doing Airbnb, but it's not liquid, okay? Well, blockchain's got a trick up its sleeve, and it's called fractional ownership, or as it's referred to as tokenization. It's like slicing up a pie and paying for just your slice. But instead of apple or cherry, let's say this pie is made of prime real estate. You can invest in just one piece of the property without buying the whole thing. So now more people can get a slice of the investment real estate pie and in turn participate in the appreciation of that pie. Well, not pie, but the investment property, you know what I'm saying. Basically, blockchain has the ability to democratize investment real estate. making it accessible for everyone and anyone who has a smartphone, not just for the folks with deep pockets and a fondness for paperwork. So whether you're dreaming of the perfect porch or you're just looking to get a foot in the investment real estate door, blockchains are here to help you do that with a lot less hassle and giving you access to that. Now, I understand you may be thinking this blockchain thing is a pretty impressive thing, or maybe you're thinking this democratized investments sound pretty cool. I'd like a piece of that pie. But I go into a lot more detail in another episode called on Tokenization, and we break it down exactly how it works. And trust me, it's really worth listening to if you have any interest in this whatsoever. I mean, who knows what it's worth to listen to it. So I highly recommend that. So we're pretty clear now that there's many uses for blockchain, and I could make a podcast that would go, a 40-hour podcast. But I want to wrap this up by making sure you understand the differences between centralized and decentralized blockchains. By understanding the differences, it really paints a clearer picture of what blockchains are and what they can be used for. So, centralized blockchains are controlled by one entity. Decentralized blockchains are controlled by a network of participants. Decentralized blockchains, I don't know why I can't say blockchains, are generally more secure because there's no single point of failure. In a centralized system, if a central authority is compromised or hacked, the whole network is at risk. In a centralized system, it can be faster since they don't require a consensus from multiple external nodes. Okay, but a decentralized system may be slower due to the time it takes to reach an agreement among the participating nodes or validators. I know we're getting into some complicated terms there, but you probably understand. Decentralized blockchains offer greater transparency, which can build trust among users. Centralized I'm having trouble here, guys, may not offer the same level of openness and are used for different things. Like a centralized blockchain might be preferred for internal operations where control and efficiency are priorities, where decentralized blockchains are often favored by corporate financial transactions and investments because they reduce the need to trust a single authority. These systems offer more privacy and security, no central authority controlling your data. And I know that may sound weird, but trust is the absence of a centralized authority. Okay? And if you prefer not to rely on a single organization, a decentralized system distribute trust among the participants that secure the blockchain for maximum security and trust. So hopefully you're still with me, and I hope you understand blockchains a little bit more. And I get it if you're not an expert yet, but you know enough to understand that there are real-world applications that are shaking things up right now. And you probably know more than 90% of the people on the planet. So pat yourself on the back. You've done something that most people haven't done. So to wrap this up, a decentralized blockchain are like global secure digital ledgers, not controlled by any one person or organization, but supported by everyone who participates in securing the network. It's changing the way we think about money, art, contracts, identification, and even how we trace our morning cup of coffee. Blockchains are cutting out middlemen, they're boosting security, reducing cost, and increasing transparency across the board. And we've really only scratched the surface here, from supply chains to Bitcoin. And blockchains are really changing how we handle data and transactions. It's an exciting time to be alive, guys. And that, my friends, are really blockchain basics. You survived this simple tech talk, and hopefully you've had a couple aha moments along the way. If you like this episode, there's much more to be sure, so be sure to subscribe and leave a review. We've got plenty more simple tech goodness coming your way, so stay tuned. And thank you for listening to the Digital 3.0 podcast. I am your humble guide, Austin Richard. It's been my pleasure sharing this information with you. If you have a better understanding of blockchains after this episode, please don't forget to share it with someone who might find it useful. Our goal is to empower through knowledge, because It's better to know too much than to be left in the dark. So until next time, this is Austin Richard with the Digital 3.0 podcast, reminding you that even the most complicated tech can be broken down into